My hazard lights activated on their own, blinking in a pattern like Morse code. The highway had emptied hours ago. Street lamps flickered intermittently, their orange halos barely cutting through the fog that had begun to settle in low and thick, curling around the guardrails and drifting across the asphalt like smoke. My car hummed steadily beneath me, headlights slicing narrow lanes of white light, dashboard glowing faintly against the dark interior. The radio had long since gone silent. Only the faint buzz of the heater and the low engine vibration filled the cabin. I had been driving for what felt like hours. Alone, yes, but not in the way solitude feels comfortable. This was the kind of emptiness that presses in, folds in on itself, and makes you hyper-aware of every sound. Tires rolling over the asphalt, the occasional scrape of fog against the windshield, the distant echo of an animal but never close enough to identify. That's when it started. A flicker from the dashboard caught my eye. My hazard lights. They weren't engaged. I hadn't touched the switch. Yet the little red triangle blinked, soft at first, then with purpose. Blink, blink, blink. Pause. Blink, blink, blink. It wasn't random. I leaned forward, squinting, watching the rhythm. It struck me immediately. The pattern resembled Morse code. Dashes and dots. Long blinks and short blinks. The fog outside swirled in the pale halo of the headlights, reflecting back the staccato flashes as if the world itself was echoing the signal. My pulse quickened. I tried the switch. Hazard lights off. They obeyed for a moment, then flicked back on, resuming the sequence. I pressed harder. Nothing changed. The pattern continued, precise, deliberate. My hands hovered over the wheel, trembling. I glanced at the rearview mirror. Fog clung to the edges of the glass. Dim reflections of my blinking dashboard seemed to echo behind me, repeating the flashes as though the mirror itself had become part of the message. Every shadow seemed to twist, lengthen, as if reacting. I tried to rationalize. Maybe electrical interference? Old wiring? A system malfunction? But the lights followed the rhythm. Blink, blink, blink. Pause. Blink, blink, blink. It repeated without error. It was as though the car itself were alive or communicating. I slowed. My tires hummed over the grooved asphalt, warning of subtle curves ahead. Street lamps flickered again, one after another, and I noticed something disconcerting. The spacing of the lamps along the highway no longer felt consistent. Distances between posts seemed to warp, stretch unnaturally, bending the perception of the road. And then I saw it. Not on the road, not in the fog directly, just at the edge of the light. A figure, tall and thin, standing still, perfectly upright. It mirrored the car's movement in some impossible way. When I slowed, it seemed to glide forward. When I sped up, it moved faster than physics should allow. Each time the hazard lights blinked, its shadow seemed to lengthen, stretching across the asphalt toward me. I forced my gaze back to the dash. Blink, blink, blink. Pause. Blink, blink, blink. My stomach dropped as the realization hit. The pattern wasn't arbitrary. The intervals were counting, were spelling something. I grabbed a notebook from the passenger seat, scribbled down the sequence. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short, pause. 3 long, 3 short, 3 long. My hands shook. I tried translating, hoping for randomness. Instead, the letters formed words that chilled my spine. Stop. Turn back. Now. I laughed nervously. No one could be out here. No one would know. I was miles from any town, the forest pressing against the highway on either side. The tires hummed. The engine vibrated. The fog thickened. And yet I felt observed. Not in a casual sense. I felt studied, every reflex noted, every breath measured. I glanced at the side mirrors. Fog drifted across them, reflecting fragments of light, a distorted repetition of the highway behind me. Nothing else. No other car, no headlights. Yet in each reflection, I thought I could see movement where there was none. A flicker of shape at the periphery, vanishing whenever I tried to focus. I pressed harder on the accelerator, willing the road to continue ahead, to outrun whatever it was signaling me. The hazard lights kept their rhythm. Blink, blink, blink. Pause, blink, blink, blink. The letters shifted with every flash, almost sentient. Look, do not ignore. The fog thinned slightly, revealing overhead signage warped and twisted. Exit numbers flickered, changing as I passed, letters stretching and contracting, as if the highway itself were alive, participating in the communication. I glimpsed a message in the reflection of a wet patch on the asphalt. The dots of light repeated in puddles, mirrored by the raindrops, spelling the same warnings, multiplying infinitely. Panic began to edge in. My hands gripped the wheel tighter. My eyes darted back and forth between dash, mirrors, and the road. Blink, blink, blink. Pause. Blink, blink, blink. I slowed instinctively, fearing the next part of the code, the next message. As soon as I lifted my foot, I realized the hazard lights weren't just blinking on the dashboard. The reflection on the windshield showed the lights extending outward, across the hood, stretching over the asphalt like a web, connecting me to the road. I felt tethered, bound, watched. The figure appeared again, just beyond the fog. This time closer, moving impossibly fast, sidestepping trees, hugging the edge of the light. Every flash of the hazard lights synchronized with its stride, each long blink marking a step, each short blink a pause, almost like a dance or a measurement. I wanted to stop, to pull over, but somewhere deep inside, a voice, I couldn't place if it was mine or not, warned me against it. The highway seemed to constrict around the car, narrowing subtly, guiding my path. I could not leave the sequence incomplete. Blink, blink, blink. Pause. Blink, blink, blink. I tried to follow the rhythm mentally, counting the spaces, interpreting the letters. Each message was a command, caution, a whisper from something vast, monitoring, recording. I reached an intersection I didn't remember approaching. Signs flickered in impossible patterns, arrows pointing multiple directions at once, contradicting one another. The figure advanced silently, unnaturally, toward the edge of the fog, and the blinking pattern shifted. Long, long, short, short, long, long, long. Pause. I realized then that the code was not only warning me, it was marking me, tracking me, preparing me. Every flash, every sequence mapped to my position, my choices, my reactions. It wasn't random. It was absolute. The fog rolled thicker. Headlights refracted, reflecting the hazard flashes like mirrors into infinite darkness. The figure was now close enough to see its outline clearly. Elongated, impossible proportions, limbs bending in ways that should have broken physics. It raised an arm, or something like an arm, and the hazard light flashes accelerated, synchronizing perfectly with its motion. Blink, blink, blink. Pause. Blink, blink, blink. And suddenly the pattern formed one final sequence. Now, I understood with a sick clarity that the hazard lights weren't just a signal, they were a countdown. A tether, a call, something waiting, something patient, watching the code, the car, me. I could not stop. I could not leave. And I realized, even if I tried to abandon the highway, the sequence would follow. The flashes would continue. The figure would continue. The message would never end. The dashboard blinked again. Long, short, long, short, long, short. And I drove on, the fog swallowing everything ahead, the blinking hazard lights marking me, communicating with someone or something that had been waiting unseen for the entirety of the road. I didn't know what it wanted. I didn't know how long I could obey, but I knew the pattern was infinite, and I was trapped inside it. The road behind me kept collapsing into darkness, mile by mile. I noticed it first in the rearview mirror. At a glance, it looked like fog, thick, colorless, pooling low along the asphalt. But fog moves. It drifts, curls, reacts to speed and wind. This didn't. It erased. The stretch of highway I had driven only seconds earlier was gone, replaced by a flat, lightless absence that swallowed the lane markings, the shoulder, the guardrail. The darkness didn't roll forward. It simply claimed what had already been passed, as if the road itself were being unwritten behind me. I blinked, leaned closer to the mirror. The dashboard glow painted my hands a dull blue, trembling faintly with engine vibration. The heater hummed. The tires whispered against the road. Everything inside the car felt normal, oppressively so. Outside, the forest pressed in on both sides. Trees rose tall and dense, their trunks too close together, their branches knitting overhead until the highway felt tunneled, constrained. My headlights cut two narrow blades of white through the dark, illuminating the rough texture of the asphalt ahead. Cracks, gravel, fallen needles. The world existed only where the light touched it. Behind me there was nothing. I slowed. The speedometer needle dipped, the engine tone lowering. Instantly, the darkness surged forward, devouring another stretch of road, snapping closer to my bumper. I sped up again, heart thudding, and it receded. No, not receded. It stopped, as if it had never been moving at all. I tested it, slowed again. The void advanced, accelerated. It froze. My breath fogged the windshield. I wiped it away with my sleeve, suddenly aware of how quiet everything had become. No wind in the trees, no distant insects, no other engines. Even the forest seemed to be holding its breath. A sign loomed ahead, reflective paint catching the headlights too late for comfort. I passed beneath it and glanced back instinctively. The sign was gone, not obscured, not swallowed by darkness. Gone, as if it had never existed. My chest tightened. I tried the radio. Static burst out, then resolved into something like voices. Too low to distinguish, layered over one another, rising and falling in a pattern that made my scalp prickle. I turned the knob. The voices vanished, replaced by silence so complete it felt padded, artificial. The darkness crept closer again. I pressed the accelerator harder. The road ahead stretched unnaturally, headlights revealing the same bend in the asphalt over and over, the same cluster of trees, the same pale rock at the shoulder. I passed it once, twice, 3 times. Time was folding. The dashboard clock flickered. 2:17, 2:17, 2:17. In the mirror, the darkness had shape now, not a thing, not a figure, but a depth. A sense of distance so vast it made my eyes ache. It didn't reflect my taillights. It didn't reflect anything. It absorbed. A thought surfaced unbidden, cold and certain. The road does not exist unless it is being used. I laughed once, short and brittle, immediately regretting the sound. The forest responded not with noise, but with pressure. The trees leaned inward just slightly, branches creaking as though adjusting their grip. Another sign ahead. This one warped, letters stretched too tall, too narrow. I couldn't read it until I was nearly beneath it. Keep moving. The reflective paint pulsed once, dimly, as I passed. In the mirror it disintegrated, not into darkness, but into nothing, like chalk wiped from a board. My hands ached from gripping the wheel. The darkness was closer now. I could feel it, a presence at my back, patient and inexhaustible. It wasn't chasing me. It didn't need to. It was pruning the world, trimming away anything I no longer occupied. I wondered how far it reached. How many miles behind me had already been erased? How many exits, towns, gas stations, how much of my life had been quietly removed because I chose forward motion over stopping? A shape appeared at the edge of the headlights, not in the road. Beside it, a mile marker, ancient and worn, stone instead of metal. Numbers carved deep, smoothed by time. I slowed despite myself. The darkness lunged. I accelerated again, breath ragged, and the marker slipped past my window. In the brief overlap of headlight and shadow, I saw more carvings on its surface. Symbols spiraling inward, arrows pointing not forward, but down. The road dipped, just slightly, enough to make my stomach float. The forest thinned ahead, opening into a stretch where the trees stood farther apart, their trunks enormous, roots bulging up through the asphalt, warping it into ridges and waves. The road was being reclaimed, reshaped to fit something older than pavement. I realized then that the darkness behind me wasn't destruction. It was completion. The road was only temporary, a convenience, A thin, fragile line laid over something that had never consented to be crossed. And now that something was closing the wound, the headlights flickered. For one terrible second, everything vanished. Road, trees, dashboard, even the sense of motion. Then the lights snapped back on, revealing the highway ahead narrowing into a single lane, funneled between towering trunks. No shoulder, no turnoff, only forward. In the mirror, the darkness had reached the rear window. It pressed against the glass without touching it, depthless and vast. I thought I saw patterns moving within it, not shapes, not figures, but directions. Paths folding inward, leading away from me, guiding me toward something. The road ahead curved sharply, disappearing into a dense stand of trees where the headlights could not penetrate. Beyond that bend, the darkness ahead felt different, anticipatory, waiting. I understood then. The thing behind me wasn't chasing me toward safety. It was ensuring I arrived. I could slow down, let the darkness take me, let the road vanish entirely, or I could keep driving. The clock blinked. 2:17. The engine hummed. The road pulled me forward. And mile by mile, the world behind me ceased to exist.